Now, picture a nurse, someone who's spent years listening, caring, and soothing those cries, suddenly freezing when she hears one particular wail. It's not just any cry, it's a sound that instantly stirs a deep, almost buried memory, the cry of a missing baby she once searched for desperately. What if I told you that this single moment, this heartrending sound, would unravel a mystery that's haunted her for years? That what seems like an ordinary day at the hospital suddenly turns into a real-life puzzle filled with heartache, hope, and suspense. Right now, you might be wondering what happened next, who that baby is, and why this nurse's life is so intricately tied to a missing case that shocked her to the core. You're about to find out. But before we dive in, I want you to pause and think about this. Have you ever experienced a moment so powerful it changed everything around you? A moment that pulled you back to a painful memory or a puzzle you've been desperate to solve? This story isn't just about a baby's cry or a nurse's intuition, it's about the deep human connections we all crave, the search for truth and the fight for justice, wrapped in an emotional journey that will grip your heart from start to finish. I want you to stick with me through every twist and turn because the answer to this mystery isn't just a reveal, it's a revelation that will challenge what you think you know about fate, family, and the quiet strength that lives inside all of us. This story begins with the nurse, Sarah, a woman who's seen the fragility of life up close and whose instinct has saved countless lives before. But nothing prepared her for what happened the moment she heard that familiar cry echo through the ward. There's something about that sound that stopped her in her tracks, something so familiar it shook her to the core, pulling her into memories she thought she'd buried long ago, memories of a missing infant whose case had gone cold, a case that left the community and Sarah herself with more questions than answers. But why now? Why after all this time did that cry bring the past rushing back? And what does it mean for the baby, the hospital staff, and Sarah's own sense of hope? You see, this isn't just a simple hospital story. It's a gripping emotional rollercoaster, one that delves into the complex layers of loss, resilience, and the desperate search for truth amidst chaos. And as you watch, you're going to witness how one sound, one cry, can ripple through lives, changing everything in ways no one expected. But it's not just about the nurse and the baby. This story touches something universal in all of us, the fear of losing someone we love, the unbreakable bond between a parent and child, and the incredible lengths people will go to uncover the truth. I want you to feel the weight of that cry, the rush of emotions Sarah experiences, and the growing tension as the pieces of this puzzle start to come together. Because as the story unfolds, you'll realize the answers you've been waiting for are buried deeper than anyone imagined, hidden in plain sight but cloaked in silence and uncertainty. And that's what makes this mystery so haunting, so compelling, and so impossible to turn away from. But before I reveal any more, I want you to promise me one thing: stay with me through this journey. The ending you're about to see isn't just a conclusion, it's a truth that will resonate far beyond this video. I'm going to take you behind hospital doors, into the very heart of a case that's been a shadow hanging over a community, and into the mind of a nurse whose determination to find answers defies every obstacle. You'll meet other characters who play pivotal roles, from frantic parents to skeptical doctors, each adding a new layer of tension and emotional depth to the unfolding drama. You'll experience the atmosphere of a hospital filled with both hope and heartbreak, the relentless ticking of a clock counting down to a discovery that could change everything. This story is raw, real, and deeply human, and it's about to grip you so tightly you won't be able to look away. What happened to that missing baby? Why did the nurse recognize the cry? What secrets have been hidden in silence all this time? Those answers are coming. But not yet. Right now, all you need to do is listen closely to that cry, because it's more than a sound, it's a key to unlocking a truth that has remained elusive for far too long. So keep watching, because what you're about to see will stay with you long after the video ends. The mystery is about to unfold, and the truth is waiting to be heard. But here's the catch: as soon as the nurse takes that first step toward uncovering the past, things spiral faster than anyone could imagine. The pieces don't just come together, they collide, forcing every character to confront fears, doubts, and hopes in ways they never expected. And just when you think you might have it figured out, the story twists again, reminding us all that some cries carry stories we're never quite prepared to hear. Stay right here. Because everything you thought you knew is about to be challenged in the most emotional, gripping, and unforgettable way. The next part. That's where the truth starts to break through. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Right after that chilling moment when Sarah, the nurse, hears the newborn's cry that shakes her to the core, the story dives deeper into the shadows that have loomed over her life for years. Sarah hasn't been just any nurse. For the last several months, she's been working tirelessly in the hospital's neonatal unit, a place where hope and heartbreak live side by side. What most people don't know is that Sarah's dedication isn't just professional, it's personal. Months before this pivotal day, she had been haunted by the disappearance of a baby from a neighboring town, a case that gripped the media and sent waves of anxiety through families and hospital staff alike. That baby, just weeks old when vanished, was more than a headline. It became Sarah's obsession, a missing piece of a puzzle she felt she needed to solve, even if it meant risking her own peace of mind. Her nights blurred with endless reports, conversations with distraught parents, and quiet moments of doubt, all while juggling the demanding realities of hospital life and complicated relationships that added their own stress to an already tense existence. The father of that missing infant had reached out to Sarah months earlier after hearing about her work with vulnerable newborns, creating an uneasy alliance between professional duty and personal commitment. At the same time, Sarah's own family life was fraying at the edges. Her husband, once her greatest support, had grown distant, frustrated by her inability to let go of the case that had turned into an all-consuming mission. There were whispers among the hospital staff, rumors about the missing baby's family, and undercurrents of suspicion that pulled everyone into a maze of conflicting emotions and unanswered questions. Was someone within the hospital connected to the disappearance? Could a colleague be hiding something? Or was this merely a tragic accident blown out of proportion by grief and desperation? As Sarah followed every lead, she encountered a tangled web of characters who seemed both allies and possible suspects. There was Dr. Evans, a respected pediatrician whose icy demeanor hid more than just professional detachment, and the young nurse on the night shift whose behavior sometimes seemed erratic and secretive. Each interaction layered more uncertainty over what Sarah thought she knew, blurring the lines between friend and foe. The hospital itself, a place meant to be a sanctuary, began to feel like a cage where shadows lurked behind every door and whispered truths hid beneath the sterile walls. Adding to the tension was a growing media storm, fueled by social media posts and viral videos that sensationalized the case, bringing unwanted attention and pressure on Sarah and the hospital. Comments and conspiracy theories flooded online forums, dragging Sarah into a digital battlefield she never signed up for. The pressure mounted, yet every new clue seemed to dissolve into another dead end, pushing Sarah closer to the edge. Meanwhile, her connection to the missing baby's parents became a double-edged sword, an emotional tether that both motivated her and clouded her judgment. Was she seeing what she wanted to see in every crying infant? Or was there truly a sign in that newborn's cry that could crack the case wide open? The tension wasn't just external, it simmered inside Sarah, a storm of hope, doubt, fear, and guilt. She questioned if her instincts were reliable or if years of trauma had warped her perception. The cry that stopped her that day echoed louder than ever, but what it meant was still a mystery wrapped in uncertainty. And just when it seemed she might be closing in on an answer, a new complication emerged, an anonymous tip pointing to someone unexpected, someone Sarah trusted, someone whose involvement could shatter everything she believed about the case and the people around her. The walls seemed to close in tighter, the stakes higher, and the line between right and wrong blurred into shades of grey. This wasn't just a hospital drama, it was a psychological thriller that tested Sarah's resolve and forced her to confront uncomfortable truths about loyalty, trust, and the lengths people will go to protect the secrets that haunt them. As viewers, you're drawn deeper into this intricate dance of clues and red herrings, questioning every detail, every motive, every character. Who can be trusted when the stakes are this high? What does the cry really mean? And will Sarah's determination lead her to the truth or to a devastating heartbreak she never saw coming? Keep watching, because this mystery is far from over. The answers are hidden in the noise, buried beneath layers of deception and fear, waiting for someone brave enough to listen and to act. And Sarah is that someone. But the path she's on is treacherous, and what happens next will test every belief she holds dear. Don't look away now, because the next piece of the puzzle is about to surface and it will change everything. Just as Sarah felt she was starting to piece together the tangled threads of the missing baby's case, reality slammed into her like a cold wave, pulling her deeper into a maze far more dangerous than she ever imagined. The hospital, a place she thought she knew inside and out, suddenly became a battlefield of shadows and secrets. The first sign came unexpectedly. A key piece of evidence, something she had been holding onto tightly, simply vanished. It was a small but crucial item, a digital recording from a nurse's station camera that had captured unusual activity on the night the baby disappeared. Sarah had planned to review it that very evening, a chance to confirm suspicions that had been swirling in her mind. But when she went to retrieve the footage, the file was gone, deleted without a trace. Panic mixed with anger as she realized this wasn't an accident. Someone was watching her, someone who wanted this mystery buried. The hospital's sterile corridors suddenly felt suffocating, each familiar face potentially hiding a motive. As if that wasn't enough, Sarah received an anonymous warning. An unnerving note slipped under her apartment door with just 3 words: "Stop digging now." It wasn't a threat made with bravado but a chilling reminder that some truths come with consequences no one is prepared to face. The warning rattled her, not because she was afraid of danger, but because it meant someone close was involved in ways she hadn't yet uncovered. The weight of that silent message pressed heavily on her chest, yet it fueled her resolve rather than quelling it. But the obstacles didn't end there. Digging into the hospital's past uncovered something else, a secret long buried and almost forgotten, a closed case from years ago, eerily similar to the one Sarah was chasing now. A baby had vanished back then, too, but the circumstances were shrouded in mystery, dismissed as a tragic accident or a misplacement. What caught Sarah's attention was the involvement of a nurse who had since left the hospital under suspicious circumstances, leaving behind whispers of betrayal and cover-ups. Was there a connection between these 2 cases? And more importantly, why had no one else connected the dots? Sarah's trust began to fracture as allies revealed their true colors. The young nurse who had once seemed uncertain now appeared guarded and defensive, avoiding her questions and casting sidelong glances when Sarah wasn't looking. Dr. Evans, with his cold professionalism, suddenly became more distant, his words clipped and guarded whenever the missing baby was mentioned. It became clear that some among them knew more than they let on. Even Sarah's closest confidants seemed caught in the crossfire of unspoken loyalties and fear. The deeper she went, the more she realized that uncovering the truth might mean confronting betrayals she never expected, betrayals that could shatter lives and reputations. Yet, the most unsettling discovery wasn't a person but a piece of information hidden in plain sight. An overlooked report filed the day after the baby disappeared, mentioning an unidentified visitor in the hospital that night. No one had followed up on it, and the visitor's identity remained a mystery. Who was this person, and what role did they play? As Sarah pieced these fragments together, the lines between friend and foe blurred. The hospital, once a place of healing and safety, became a labyrinth of secrets and lies. Every step forward brought new questions, every answer seemed to open a door to deeper darkness. And then, in the midst of this swirling uncertainty, a familiar voice reached out, someone Sarah had long trusted but now found herself questioning. This unexpected ally offered information that could change everything, but their motives were unclear, their timing suspicious. Were they helping her, or leading her into a trap? The tension tightened, every moment a race against time and deception. And just when it seemed Sarah might finally glimpse the truth behind the missing baby and the echoes of the past, a sudden, shocking revelation stopped her cold, one that turned everything upside down and left the mystery more tangled than ever. But that's a story for the next part, because what Sarah discovered next isn't just a twist, it's a game-changer, a secret that will keep you on the edge of your seat and desperate to know what happens next. So don't go anywhere, because the answers you've been waiting for are closer than you think, and the truth is about to break through the shadows in the most unexpected way. As Sarah grappled with the shocking revelation that threatened to upend everything she thought she knew about the missing baby, an entirely new layer of complexity began to unfold, one that pulled another key player unexpectedly into the storm and sent shockwaves through the fragile web of trust Sarah had been trying so desperately to hold together. Just days after Sarah received her chilling anonymous warning, her closest friend and colleague, Mark, a fellow nurse who had been quietly assisting her with the case behind the scenes, found himself the recipient of a similar, yet far more cryptic message. Mark's phone buzzed late one night with a text that simply read, "Some truths aren't meant to be found." Unlike Sarah's direct and threatening note, this one was more ominous, filled with a vague warning that felt like a shadow cast over every step they had taken. It was clear now that whoever was trying to silence Sarah wasn't working alone, and the stakes were spiraling beyond the hospital's walls. Meanwhile, as Sarah and Mark tried to make sense of these threats, a new piece of evidence surfaced, one that contradicted everything they had believed so far. A hospital volunteer, someone who'd been quietly in the background until now, came forward with information about a baby swap rumor whispered years ago but never investigated. This revelation forced Sarah to question the foundation of the entire missing baby case. Could the infant she was so desperate to find actually be someone else's child? Was there a hidden betrayal within the very families involved, or worse, within the hospital staff itself? The lines between victim and suspect blurred dangerously, and every interaction became charged with suspicion. As Sarah dug deeper, she found herself questioning not only the motives of others but her own judgment and memories. The hospital's corridors, once familiar and comforting, now seemed labyrinthine, filled with eyes watching, waiting, and possibly lying. Friends became wary, allies seemed hesitant to share their full stories, and even the parents of the missing baby showed cracks of desperation that made Sarah wonder how much they truly knew or were willing to reveal. Adding to the tension was the presence of a mysterious figure seen near the hospital in the days leading up to the disappearance, someone who had slipped through security unnoticed and whose identity remained a secret. Was this person connected to the threats, the deleted footage, and the rumors of a baby swap? Or was this just another dead end in a case full of them? The community around the hospital buzzed with speculation, fueled by social media and viral videos that painted a picture of conspiracy and cover-up, dragging Sarah and everyone involved into a storm of public scrutiny. The pressure mounted, not just from outside but within, as Sarah faced the possibility that uncovering the truth might not bring relief but ruin. She knew she was close to something big, something that could unravel not just the missing baby case but the very trust that held her world together, but she also knew that moving forward meant risking everything she cared about. Every conversation became a delicate dance of words and meanings, every gesture loaded with hidden significance. And through it all, the cryptic warnings continued, escalating in tone and frequency, as if the shadows chasing Sarah and Mark were tightening their grip, determined to stop them from exposing what was buried beneath years of silence and deception. With every new clue, the mystery deepened, the motives multiplied, and the truth slipped further from reach, leaving both Sarah and the audience questioning everything and everyone. Who was protecting whom? And what were they willing to sacrifice to keep the secret safe? The tension was unbearable, the stakes higher than ever, and just when it felt like the pieces might finally start to fit, a sudden and unexpected event jolted Sarah to her core, a moment that promised to shatter the fragile balance and force everyone to confront the darkest corners of their pasts and fears. But that moment, that twist, is something you won't want to miss. Stay with me, because this story is far from over, and the real game is only just beginning. The atmosphere around Sarah shifted in a way she couldn't ignore, like a heavy, unseen fog closing in tighter with every passing hour, suffocating any sense of safety she once took for granted. It started with small things, almost imperceptible at first, the feeling of eyes on her back during late-night hospital shifts, the way shadows seemed to flicker just out of sight when she glanced over her shoulder, and the chilling silence that followed her every step outside the hospital walls. But then the unthinkable happened. Mark, her trusted colleague and the one person she'd confided in without hesitation, disappeared without a trace. One day he was there, quietly sharing pieces of the puzzle and offering quiet reassurances amid the chaos, and the next, every phone call went unanswered, every message left on read, and a cold silence that screamed of something wrong. Sarah's mind raced with fear and disbelief as she grappled with the possibility that the growing threat she'd sensed was no longer just shadowy warnings or anonymous notes, it was a dangerous, real force closing in on her world, ready to silence her and anyone who dared to get close to the truth. But Mark's silence was deafening, his words few and carefully measured, as if admitting too much would shatter everything beyond repair. And then came the ultimatum that shattered any illusion of control Sarah had left. A cryptic message arrived, this time not anonymous, but from someone unmistakably close, someone who had always appeared to be on her side. The message was clear and merciless: stop digging, walk away from the truth, or risk losing everything she held dear, not just her job or reputation, but the people she loved, her very life. The choice was agonizing, a wrench in her chest that left her gasping for breath. To protect herself and those around her, she could bury the secrets, live in a fragile safety built on silence and shadows. Or she could keep fighting, exposing the darkness no matter the cost, knowing the path ahead was fraught with danger and heartache. Sarah's mind raced through the possibilities. If she gave in, would the nightmare truly end? Or would the guilt and the unanswered questions haunt her forever? And if she refused, how far was she willing to go? How much pain could she endure? The hospital, once a place of healing and hope, had transformed into a battlefield where every decision was a risk, every ally a potential threat. As Sarah grappled with these impossible choices, her isolation deepened. She found herself questioning not just the people around her but her own instincts, her own strength. Doubt gnawed at her resolve, but beneath it all was a fierce, unyielding determination, a refusal to let fear dictate the future of the innocent lives caught in this nightmare. The emotional storm inside her was raw and overwhelming. Memories of the missing baby's parents, their desperate faces and broken voices, fueled her drive but also tore at her heart. Could she bear the weight of knowing the truth if it meant shattering their fragile hope? Could she face the betrayal of someone she once trusted without losing herself in the process? And amid all this turmoil, new shadows crept in, strange encounters in empty hallways, whispered warnings that seemed to come from every direction, and a growing sense that the walls were closing in, faster and more relentlessly than ever before. The tension was suffocating, the stakes higher than ever, and the path ahead more uncertain. Sarah stood at a crossroads where every choice felt like a sacrifice, every step a plunge into deeper darkness. The truth was within reach, but the cost of grasping it might be more than anyone could bear. And as the night stretched on, the questions multiplied. Who could she trust? What secrets were still hidden in plain sight? And how much was she willing to risk to uncover the answers that would change everything? The answers were still out there, tangled in shadows and silence, waiting for Sarah and for you to uncover. The journey was far from over, and the hardest trials were still ahead. The deeper Sarah dug, the more the conspiracy revealed itself not as an isolated nightmare, but as a sprawling network that reached far beyond the hospital's sterile walls and the missing baby she was trying desperately to find. What started as a whispered suspicion had exploded into something that gripped entire departments, officials, and even people she'd once considered pillars of the community. The sense of betrayal tightened its grip when she uncovered that Dr. Evans, the man she'd once respected as a calm, reliable leader, was far more involved than anyone suspected. His cold professionalism masked a ruthless ambition, and behind closed doors, he had been orchestrating cover-ups and silencing anyone who threatened to expose the truth. It wasn't just about protecting the hospital's reputation anymore, it was about protecting a carefully constructed empire built on lies and exploitation. Sarah's heart pounded as she pieced together how deep the rot had spread: illegal adoptions, falsified medical records, and a clandestine network profiting off the vulnerable, all under the guise of healing and care. The people she thought were her allies were in fact pawns or predators, and every step she took was being watched, measured, and anticipated. The line between safety and danger blurred as she realized the extent of the forces aligned against her. Just as she thought the ground beneath her feet was unstable, an even more devastating blow came. In a moment that shattered any last shred of trust, the young nurse who had seemed nervous but sincere revealed herself to be a calculated player in the game, a mole sent to monitor Sarah's movements and relay information back to those who wanted the conspiracy to stay buried. The betrayal cut deeper than any threat or warning. It was a personal wound, a reminder that in this battle for truth, no one was safe from deception. With enemies lurking in every corner, Sarah found herself isolated, racing against time to gather irrefutable evidence before the walls closed in completely. The tension was suffocating as she moved stealthily through the hospital's corridors, her every decision loaded with risk. One wrong move could mean losing everything: the truth, the missing baby, her own life. But retreat wasn't an option. The faces of the innocent babies caught in this dark web, the silent cries she'd heard echoing in her mind, fueled a fire that refused to be extinguished. The urgency was crushing. Each revelation brought new dangers and sharper questions. Who else was involved? How many had turned their backs on the vulnerable for power and profit? And was there anyone left who genuinely cared about justice? The stakes were higher than ever, and the clock was ticking. As Sarah prepared to confront the final pieces of this twisted puzzle, the pressure mounted like a storm ready to break, threatening to sweep away everything she held dear. The fight for the missing baby was no longer just a case, it was a battle against a monstrous lie, and only by shining a brutal light on the darkest corners could she hope to survive and bring justice. The truth was on the edge of being revealed, but so was the danger. And with the shadows closing in faster than ever, Sarah faced a moment that would change everything for herself, for the baby, and for everyone caught in this web of secrets. Hold on tight, because the climax is coming, and it's more intense and unpredictable than you could ever imagine. Sarah's heart thundered as she stepped into the dimly lit conference room, the air thick with tension and the faint scent of fear that clung to every surface. The weight of everything that had come before, the threats, the betrayals, the sleepless nights, brought her to this final, pivotal moment. Across from her stood Dr. Evans, his calm facade now cracked, eyes sharp with cold calculation. The man who had wielded power behind the scenes, who had manipulated lives with the ease of a puppeteer, was finally face to face with the person who refused to be silenced. The room seemed to close in as Sarah laid out the evidence she had fought so hard to gather, the falsified records, the hidden adoption ring, the anonymous threats that had only been the surface of a much darker conspiracy. Her voice was steady, but inside, a storm of fear, anger, and resolve raged. Dr. Evans smiled thinly, a predator's grin that sent chills down her spine. He didn't deny the accusations, instead, he tried to turn the situation, warning Sarah that pushing further would destroy more than just careers, it would ruin lives, including hers. But Sarah stood firm. This was bigger than fear. It was about justice for the missing baby and every innocent life caught in the shadows of greed and silence. The confrontation became a tense battle of wills, words sharp as knives, each side probing for weakness. Suddenly, the power shifted when a soft click echoed in the room, the sound of the door unlocking. Mark, battered and weary, appeared, his presence a shocking twist no one expected. He had been held captive, forced into silence, but now he returned with the final piece of the puzzle, a video recording hidden deep within the hospital's archives, exposing Dr. Evans' role in orchestrating the disappearance and covering it up with cold precision. The room fell silent as the footage played, showing faces, conversations, and betrayals that no one could deny. Dr. Evans' mask shattered, his grip on control slipping as Sarah and Mark's relentless pursuit of truth finally broke through. But just when it seemed the nightmare was ending, an unexpected twist struck. A phone vibrated on the table, and Sarah's blood ran cold as she read the message. "You found me, but there's more. The real puppet master is still out there." The climax didn't bring closure. Instead, it revealed an even deeper, more dangerous layer of the conspiracy, someone pulling the strings from the shadows, someone who had anticipated every move and was ready to strike again. The room, once a battleground for justice, now became a launching point for a new fight. Sarah's journey had uncovered the truth, but it had only scratched the surface. The story wasn't over, not by a long shot, and the price of revealing the hidden darkness was far from paid. Viewers are left breathless, caught between relief and dread, knowing that the final chapter is yet to be written, and the shadows still hold secrets waiting to be uncovered. After the whirlwind of revelations, betrayals, and heart-wrenching moments, Sarah finally stood in the quiet calm of the hospital's neonatal wing, the place where it had all begun. The missing baby, once a symbol of mystery and pain, was now safe, found in the care of a kind-hearted family who had unknowingly been caught in the tangled web of deception. The truth had unraveled, exposing a dark conspiracy that had threatened countless innocent lives, and the corrupt figures like Dr. Evans were now facing justice, their carefully built empires crumbling under the weight of evidence. Yet, even as the official investigations moved forward and the community began to heal, Sarah felt a complex mix of relief and lingering unease. The fight had taken everything from her, the trust she once had, the safety she craved, and the simple peace she longed for, but it had also given her something priceless, the unwavering resolve to stand up against injustice, no matter the cost. She looked down at the hospital bracelet she still wore, the faint mark that had first sparked her suspicion and led her on this harrowing journey. It was a reminder of how easily truth can be hidden beneath layers of lies, and how important it was to listen to the cries that often go unheard, to the shadows that cling to places we least expect. As Sarah walked through the hospital corridors, She couldn't help but feel the weight of the countless untold stories still waiting in the dark, stories that might never see the light unless someone dared to seek them out. The missing baby case was closed, but the deeper question remained: how many others had been lost in silence? The final twist came quietly, almost unnoticed, a subtle glance from a nurse in the hallway, a brief exchange of words caught just out of earshot, hinting at secrets still guarded fiercely within the hospital's walls. It was a reminder that while one battle had ended, the war for truth and justice was far from over. For Sarah, and for all who had followed her journey, the story left an indelible mark, challenging viewers to question what they accept as reality and to stand vigilant against the hidden darkness that can exist in the places we trust most. It was a call to listen closely, to never ignore the faintest cry for help, and to remember that sometimes, the smallest voice can ignite the strongest fight for justice. As the screen fades to black, the echoes of the newborn's cry linger, haunting, hopeful, and a powerful reminder that every truth uncovered is a step toward healing, but also a step into deeper mysteries yet to be revealed. This is not just Sarah's story, it's a call to everyone watching to stay alert, stay compassionate, and never stop seeking the truth, no matter how deeply it's buried.